Hello there, welcome to Gadget Mad Lad. In this episode, I'm going to be doing something pretty close to my heart, something I like to do quite a lot, as you know. Type-C mods, Xbox wired 360 controllers with the ends broke. Gonna turn them into Type-C. Let's do this. Right, what we'll do now is basically get them torn down, and as soon as they're torn down, I'll give you an example of what I'm going to be using to make them into Type-C. A little walkthrough, so you'll understand it a bit easier, because it's not too complicated, it's really basic, honest to God. I'll speed through the teardown, obviously. That's one down, one to go. Speed up, speed time again. Now we get to the interesting bit. We crack them open and we talk about Type-C stuff. Right, so move my little cheese tub full of screws out of the way. They're all Phillips screws, just to be clear as well. On the wired versions, which is a bit weird I thought, because on the wireless versions the security screws, kind of odd. Anyway, so what I'll do, crack them open this way. And I shall, I think it's the case, just pull them apart. Do I need a pry tool for this? Oh, it's going apart, okay. So we've got the back off that one. Move this to the side for now, because it's out of the way, because clearly I'm lacking in space. And come up on you. Again, sticking a little bit. Actual board stuck in the actual thing. Come on you. There we go. Totally come apart that one. So, move this black one to the side. These are just ones I threw together out of my parts pile, so I've not even checked them yet, so we can get to repairing them once they're, able to connect to the computer. So as you can see here, if you look, this is a good example. Let me take this one over. Disconnect these motors. Disconnect one. Disconnect two. If you look here, this cable here is the fixed in place cable that you have on all Xbox 360 wired controllers, yeah? And if you don't know this, I'm just going to explain it very quickly. Basically, it's a wire that's fixed in place, you can't change or anything, it goes to a little special cable that connects to something like this, and then goes to USB. So if you ever lose this bit, you're buggered, for starters. And if the cable ever breaks in whatsoever, you're buggered. The pad's useless, which is crazy because they're really good controllers. So my intention is to add one of these. This is a, one second, move the stuff out of the way, and we'll get to the goodie bits. Make sure I don't drop anything, so give me 1 second, that can go on there, and that can go on there. Right, so, move that as well. This is the bit I want to show you. Move them to the side. This is a female Type-C to a male USB adapter, yeah? You can buy them in packs of 6 or 3 or whatever off Amazon. I usually buy them in like, multi-packs or whatever. But this is the insides of one. This is it torn down into it's got like a plastic thing around it, so I'll show you how I get it open now. Got a little bit of tissue here. This will have my flux on. Got some pliers. What I haven't got is a lighter. So give me 1 second, I'll be right back. So now we've got a lighter. I can show you a little trick. Basically, what I do with the tissue, you got to fold it over. Fold over again. You just need something so it's thick enough so you're not going to burn yourself, because you might burn yourself. So do this at your own risk, obviously, as always. Basically what I'm going to do is, I say basically a lot to do. Right, so I'm going to heat up this section. I'm not going to burn it, I'm going to heat it to the point where the glue softens around it. The hotter you get it, if you're not too crazy to the point where it's on fire, it should just soften the glue. Little baby tips. Baby taps of flame. Okay, so it's starting to blacken there, so I'm gonna give it a couple more seconds, and then with the tissue I'm gonna quickly pull off the metal sheathing. There we go, easy peasy. Get that on there, drop that so I don't burn myself, and we'll cut back in a second to when it's cooled down and I'm ready to show you what to do next. Right, so now it's cooled down, we need, move that out of the way because it might still be warm, a cutting blade. Now what our intention here is, if you look around the USB section, there's a seam there, and that's the only place you can get access to. So what we need to do is, using our cutting blade, just stick it under the seam bit there, and we want to get it, just pop it open, just a little. Oh, careful you don't cut yourself, by the way, because obviously, with a cutting tool, it will cut you if it can. So what I've done there, 1 second, you see, just tiny little bit up there, so I can get my tweezers into there, which hopefully give me enough space. There we go. And now I'll just bend it so you can't see as clearly, which is hard to do. Off, and then that sheathing comes off, and below it we've got a Type-C connector and the pads essentially. I'll show you in a second what to do with that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to trim this, and then I'll show you what to do next. Right, and with that now trimmed down, we're left with this, which, as you can see, ignore that for a second. So as you can see here, we've got the way it plugs in. We've got like a receptacle or something. No, no USB part's not gonna. Oh, there we go. So we've got a non-male USB there. So this essentially is that, like that. So what we've got here is we've trimmed it down as best we can because we need to expose the end of the female part of it, because what we're going to use is the rubber stopper from the end of the, you know, where the wire meets the actual Xbox 360 controller itself. We're going to use that as a guide to hold this in place. Not hold it in place permanently, I'll get to that in a minute, but if you look here, 1 second, I can't zoom in on this, so I'll have to come close to the camera. But it's like a little diagram I've got for USBs and connectors and stuff essentially. But if you look here, this is the part we're talking about. So it's a male version, so it's a Type A, so this one here, so it's this version here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's like that then basically, yeah? So you're looking at it as it's shown in the diagram, which means from this side, working our way across to our left, we've got red, which is positive power, we've got white, which is data minus, we've got green, which is data plus, and we've got black, which is ground, obviously, yeah. So that's, if we basically try to connect that, them 4 pads, to, where have I put it, right, I'll go back in a second, but these here, move that to the side again, if we connect them pads on, oh sorry for knocking the camera there, but them colours correspond with that, we can essentially, what I'd like to do is, because there's not really much here, there's a few little test points, because this is nice and flat as well, perfectly flat on one side, which perfectly leaves the pins exposed as well for any future repairs or anything, you get me? I get this into position, I get the housing ready, you know, to hold it in place, and I cut this flush, knocking the camera again, and then that's how I hold it in place. So that's what we'll do now. I'll get the soldering iron heated up and then we'll get back to it. What we will do first, actually, before we get to the soldering the things into place, the Type-C ports, we'll get them glued in. So what I need to do before I do the gluing is I need to, first of all, cut this off, like so. So I need that, obviously. That was going to be this kind of guide for the Type-C port. And these little connectors here, what I'm going to do to save a little bit of space, I'm going to remove these. I've got a photo, I've took a picture, so I know what the orientation is and everything. So the plan now is to desolder from that side, remove the connector itself, and we'll go from there. What I'll be using is this. I'm probably going to speed up past this point, just for the sake of it, to be honest with you. So why not? Alright, so let's get to that bit then. Right, so after that massive ordeal, I got these two out. This one pinged off and shot across the room, but it didn't damage any traces or anything. This one's a bit more trickier than the other one because if you see there's a little, is it an oscillating crystal or something? Not too sure the name, to be honest with you, but on this one it's down here in the corner, which is a bit weird. Right, so let's get these moved to the side. And let's get to the next bit. Right, so for now we don't need these just right now, so let's move them to the side. And right now we need to cut these. So if you look right now, let's use this one for example. They're both exactly the same mould, so there's no difference between these two whatsoever. So right now we need to clear some space here where the wire thing grips hold of. If you look, where is it? It's that way around, I think. I mean, yeah, wrong way around. One second, that's this side for now. So the example, the back case here, this circle bit of it goes down like that and it grips like so, yeah. So what we want to do, we want to slice this cleanly. We've got a blade. So basically, if you see there, like there's a line, we just want, I'm not going to do anything because I don't scratch the plastic obviously. And we want to chop that there. So let's quickly do that. So that's that chopped, chop that in the bin. We'll cut that in a second. Chop this one, same place. This is the bit you want to be nice and flush because this is the bit that's going to be on the inside supporting the actual Type-C bit. This bit here is where you have to do a bit of work to get it to actual fit. But we'll get to that in a second. So for now, what we want to do is, there's like a seam where the thing meets its, you know, when it comes out, you just use that as your guide. Try and cut as straight as you can. I mean, I doubt you're going to get perfection with it, but I mean, obviously if you do, great, that's good for you. So right now, that's all I'm doing is I'm scoring around the edge of the rubber. And by doing that, that should, in turn, free. And man, there's a copper wire still in it, so we're going to have a bit of a pain in the butt with that, but as long as we get into the actual thing, it should be good. Yeah, let's see. There's a wires dropping out there, it's not very nice, but some shielding wires dropping out, but as you can see, that's what you should be left with. So what it should look like is this. So that's good. What we can do, we can tidy it up a little bit so I can trim and stuff. I'll do it off camera obviously, but I'm going to do it with the other one and then we'll get back to the video. Right, so I'll trim these down, right, that's what these should look like when you're done. So this one is going to go for the black one, and as you can see, when I plug it in, it's pretty flush. Our objective will be to make it, what do you call it, slice it in half and trim it in accordance to the Type-C port when we get to that bit, which we will do very soon. So now we are going to cut this and this and a bit of this. We should be okay, I think, everywhere else. So let's do it then, yeah. I don't think we need to cut that, to be honest with you. We won't cut that. So I'm just going to cut this bit here and around here so I can get, you know, the width that I need for the Type-C port. So what I'll do, I'll speed past that bit, so enjoy. Right, so the plan now is to glue, that's not the right thing, is to glue these into position here. So what we're going to do, if you look here where you've got TP53, TP54 and TP8, as long as none of them are touching this metal shielding, because we're going the flat way down, if you look, there's an actual little kind of nook, I'm showing you, see a little indentation. I'm hoping that's going to give it enough bite to grip down. We'll put more glue in it obviously to hold it steady, but the point is, we should have, the thing is, the thickness of this is less than, let's look at on the things, I might have chucked them away, you know, I'll give you an example here, but you know the thing we took off, this thing here, because if you look, it's actually, the thickness of that at any point is no thicker than that, so it should be okay. So right now, what we need to do is mix some glue together. And what I've done to hold it in place, because I'm going to use this as a guide to know exactly where I need to do it. So my plan is this, yeah? I've got a male side there to connect it so I can extend, you know, the actual port is, so I've got more to grip hold of and hold it in place. My plan is this, I'm going to put the actual thing in place with a little bit of glue in there, you know where I want to put it, and a little bit on that, and I'm going to push this through like so, aligning where the connection would be roughly as flush as I can, and holding it steady like that till the glue dries, and then obviously I'll take out and reinforce it with a little bit more glue. So that's what we'll cut to now then, so let's get that done. Right, so I've got the glue mixed together, or epoxy resin, whatever you want to call it. So now we'll get this one out first. I got them quick here because it's a time sensitive glue. We don't go crazy here, we just sort of put enough for it to make a contact. So you don't want it to be stingy either, so make sure you put enough on there for it to at least start gathering, if you get what I mean. I'm set, so I'll get that on there. Don't worry about any spillage, as long as you don't get any too bad on the plastic, you should be okay to wipe it off. So now what we're going to do, we're going to place this into the actual shell where it will rest, yeah, like so. And then I'm going to get with this side, remember the indentation side, so if you look, this contact's there and this all black bit needs to go flat towards it, so we need to put a little blub in here. Again, we don't want to be tarnishing anything. I like to slightly cover where the thing is, if you get me, you know, the metal ground, so there's less chance of it shorting or anything like that against anything. No, it's very unlikely to anyway. Very, very unlikely. As long as you're careful and you've make sure nothing's exposed there. I mean, technically you could run some solder wick over the actual, you know, the test points, just to confirm that they're gonna be flat. But I put enough glue in there to be happy with that. So what I'll do, I'll stop this now and I'll cut back to when it's dry. So now the glue's set on that, as you can see, it's looking alright, and we've got our pads exposed that we need to solder to directly, which will be going through, so to speak, if you get what I mean. We'll when we get to the wiring, I'll explain everything clearly. Right, so what I'll do is put it to the side for now, and I'll get the other one done. I will actually film this one, but it'll be sped up. So, cut to super speed, me mixing some glue and gluing that and hold it in place for God knows how long it takes. I think about 10 minutes or something. So look forward to that, and I'll see you in a sec. You'll see me in a sec, but I won't see you obviously, because I haven't got eyes in your phone. I mean, I have. LOL. Now it comes to my favourite bit now. Now we've got them all glued in place, perfectly steady as a mofo. That's really well glued in place, and as you can see when we hold it in place next to this, it should pretty much, make sure I land it down there. Yeah, we all seem good there, everything's good. And as you can see, we've got room for clearance, which we'll get to that once we've got the soldering done with now, this bit now. So, what I'm going to be using is some enamel wire. I'm not too sure the gauge of it, it's something I salvaged off a power supply, but you can see that or not? Some really thin wire. The plan is this: I'm going to solder a wire to each of these 4 pads, and then we're going to feed it through and solder it off on this side to secure it in place, because unfortunately there's no pads on this side. We've got to feed it through, and that's where the connector will be on that side. But if you look on this one, I've got, that's not been the thing taken off. They actually connect on that side, but they're through holes, so the actual legs to this are soldered on the back here. So we're just going to replicate that with some little wires. But I've got a really funky way of doing that, so hopefully you're going to enjoy. So let's get it done then. So that should be a soldering iron, hot enough. Right, so what we'll do, I'll quickly take that out there. That's just the male I had to hold it. The male USB-C port, I had to hold it in place so it was being glued. They're really good giants, them, to be honest with you. Right, so I've got some soldering out already. I need to put a bit of solder on this, but just to clarify how it's going to be in regards to this here. So I'll move one out of the way so I can give you a closer variation of it. So from this side, can you see the colours of the wires and the 4 pads there, yeah? So basically we've got black, green, white and red coming out of there, yeah? So red needs to go to this one here, and then yeah, white, next one along, and then green, next one along, and then the last one on this side, which technically is the first one, is black. So black, green, white, red. That's the order it's going to go in. So you kind of got to cross them over a little bit, but it should be it'll be fine. We'll get to it now. Let's get it done. So I'll move that out of the way. Let's get this one there so it's in camera shot. Soldering iron ready. Yep, it's all good. Got a bit of solder there. So 1 second, got to relight that out for me. Unlock you. There we go. Stay. Alright, so I'm just going to quickly put a little bit of solder on the actual pads themselves, so we can get a nice connection. Not even much, obviously, because we're only using really thin enamel bar anyway, but we want it to be held very firmly, you know, for any knocks or jolts or anything that the pad receives when it gets dropped or something, which probably will inevitably happen eventually. Right, so we've got a bit of solder in each of them. That one's already got some on it. So what we'll do is I shall cut let's do, that'll be enough I reckon, yeah. So let's go cutting that there. Should be able to just keep reusing this, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So what I will do is I will not only tin the end, because the very end of it, as long as you're submerging that in solder, you've got a nice contact, you get me? So as long as the very end of this is covered, we are all good. So just getting the solder wet. There we go, beautiful. Lovely jubbly. And that's a nice steady connection as well. Get it a little yanked. Not too hard, obviously, you don't rip it out. But that's good. So we need to cut that there. About there, I'd say. The excess wire there. Can it stretch over this side if it needs to? Yeah, because I think it does need to, so make sure it does. And we'll solder this into place now. Next one along. Obviously I'll reconfirm the colours as we go and what goes to what, so if you lost track, don't fret, I will show you again. That's not totally covered there. Yeah, man, because the plastic on this is quite affected by heat. You get a little bit of warpage, but as long as you don't keep it on there too long, you should be all good. Make sure the very ends are covered, because if they're not, you might have a bit of trouble with connection, because enamel wire, it has a plastic coating on it and it only dissolves when it's superheated. But like I say, the end of it, yeah, that's the very end, is exposed anyway, you know, the very tip of it, because you cut through it, obviously you've got exposed metal in the very centre of it. As long as that's making contact with the solder, which it will do if you cover the very end, you're all good, you get me? So again, let's cut this to roughly the same length. Totally missed that then. And again, so see what I mean about the piece of wire, we can keep going in and using the same piece, so you don't have to like cut them all, you know, in one go and come in tweezers or anything. You should give yourself a bit of space to come in with, kind of thing. Make sure you get the solder nice and hot. Make sure the end's covered. Yep, we're good there. Lovely jubbly. And I don't think, oh yeah, there we go. In fact, once we show is enough for the last piece, but there is, so we're all good. So cut that there, and last little bit that's there. Gonna solder this in. Don't worry, I'm not gonna do this on both of them. I'll cut to when the other one's been done as well. So again, just making sure we've got the tip of it totally submerged. Obviously grip holes from it as well, you know, to give it some like an anchor point. So at this point now we've got 4 really scrawny little wires coming off it. So our objective now is, so right, 4. Yeah, I'm saying it 4 because on the diagram I'm looking at it's numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what I'm going off here. So we'll call it ground. So that one needs to go to this one here. So if you notice there, so this is where black goes, that's ground. So for us that's either of these 2 end pins, if I'm not mistaken. I think they've got continuity between them, so let's just double check that. So if I'm not mistaken here, which I'm pretty sure I'm not, but let's just double check. So can you hear that continuity? Otherwise all tangled up. Untangle. We good? Right, yeah, so let's stick on there a second. I'm going to confirm that, so these N2, this one and this one should beep. They're not beeping. Is it these 2 I'm getting mixed up? No? Why aren't you beeping? I'm sure you weren't meant to be grown. I did it wrong, it's these 2. So, because it's, you know, flips, because it's the opposite side, these 2 should beep. Yep. Continuity. So these first 2 pins here, that's ground essentially. This is ground, this is ground. Light's going out on that again, 1 second. So the way it goes is ground, ground, data plus, data minus, and positive voltage. And from this way around, it goes ground, ground, green, data plus, white, data minus, red, positive. If you can see that, I'm showing it clearly. So from this side, the front side of it where the thingy is, we've got ground, ground, data plus, data minus, 5 volts, positive, red. And I've sent, they're just going to be fed through. So just let me move my multimeter. And let's get that done then. So stop that for a sec. Right, so now we're going to solder the wires through the relevant holes. Caution before you proceed past this point, obviously. If you put too much pressure pushing through, you will rip these pads on the other side. They are very, very, very flimsy. I've had a similar escapade practicing on this one off camera, but obviously you just need to be careful, yeah? So be very, very cautious. I've cleared all the holes right through. Hope you can see that or not. I don't know if I can shine through, a bit of light here or something maybe. Look, can you see? I like shining through all 5 holes. That's because you need the clearance essentially. If you're pushing it through, you're forcing it through, you might rip the trace. If you rip the trace, there's not always another point to, you know, solder it onto. So right, so to start with, right, so we'll go with, so this, bend that all the way, give it tweezers so I can do this. Need the very end pin at the moment, that's it. So this one here, the very end one. This one here is going to, we'll use our reference one here. So the furthest one along, so this one here. So the furthest one on this side goes to the furthest one on this side hole-wise. So if we just put that through, very gently, I've got very stubby fingers, so I'm just having a bit of trouble. So it's through. So you want to leave yourself a little bit of slack, and then we're going to flip it over and apply a little bit of solder. That rhymed. It's going to be hard to get this in shot at, so I'll do my best obviously, but see what we can do. Drop my solder, great. Right, so what I'm going to do is just basically fill that hole with solder. Careful not to bridge anything. There we go, lovely jubbly. And then what I'll do then, I'll come in with the flush cutters, which are done in them ones. So I'll use these ones there, and I'm gonna just trim the top of the cable as close to the solder as I can, pulling that away obviously because you don't want to get that magnet stuck to the inside. That'll be a pain in the butt. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna touch over the hole, so totally submerged. See? So we've got a nice good contact with that now. Just confirm. What the hell happened there? Okay, that's weird. So some solder squirted through. You can see that or not? That's odd. I've never seen that before. Must have been pushing it through too hard or something. So I don't do any harm, I don't think. So I'll just cut that. Careful not to cut the wire obviously, because that's not good. So that's now out of the way. Put that in the little rubbish bin. And we'll move to the next one. So the next one along is, so next to red we've got white, which is the data minus, which goes in the next one along from where the red's just gone. And just pushing that down, being gentle not to knock it loose or twist it or anything, because obviously with being copper it's very easy to snap. Well, obviously it's more soluble than like most things, but can I use a solder sucker? You are the sacrificial lamb. So we'll get that in there, and because this has got an oscillating crystal, I believe now you call it, I need to be careful here. So I think I did good. I think I did good. So what I'll do, again, come in, snip it, take off the excess. Like I say, be really careful when you're cutting. If you end up cutting actual solder, that you put down, be very careful that you're not actually putting too much pressure on the pad, because it is really, really easy to rip these pads. And also what I'll do there now is I will just tap in. That should make a nice little clean ball. Yeah, lovely jubbly. Just confirm we've got contacts on the other side. Go a little pull, little pulley. We've got nice and snug connections, so we're all good up to yet. So we're on the third wire now. So third wire. Screen dimming on my tablet. The third wire is green, which is data plus, which goes here. So the third one along. So doing it in order, obviously. So we've done the first, second, now we're on the third. Don't worry about these wires touching each other, as long as none of the bits that you touch with the solder, or the soldering iron should I say, touch each other. As long as they don't, you're all good. Does that make sense? The only time these are, I know it looks like copper, but it's not. It's got like a plastic coating over it, but it's really easy to burn the coating off it. So if you touch it slightly with soldering iron, you might actually make it so if it touches against another piece of metal or something, you'll get a short or whatever. But it's good stuff. This it's really obviously easy to get by the boatload, without paying any money for. So this is the one I had trouble with before, off camera that is, the third one along. So fingers crossed I don't have the same nightmare with this. So I'm gonna get this angle right. Pain in my butt. Let's try it this way. So yeah, that might work. So I'll get you there. Yeah, I think we're good there. I think we're good. So coming with the flush cutters again, and as close to the solder as I can get it. Snippety. And look at it there now. Looks a bit untidy, but then what I'll do is I'll come in with the soldering iron and I'll lightly touch it up. Got a little bit of pokage through there, so what I'm going to do is, like I say, don't want to rip the pad up, so I'm trying to be careful. I think we're good there. Double check on the other side, because obviously I did one before and it didn't actually connect properly. Yeah, we're good. So now for the last one, which you're probably thinking, what, there's two more holes left on the bottom. Yep, but bear in mind, these two are both ground. So technically you can go to any of these really, but I like to keep it nice and tidy. So what I do is I push that through. So I made this one a little bit longer too. There's a reason for that, because what my intention is I'll get around this side and I thread it back through again. That way we get a really nice steady connection with this one. And it doesn't matter obviously because, like I say, they're both ground, so it makes no difference to the actual thing. And all it does is gives you like a nice anchor point, you get me? So now it's poking through that side, I should just be able to give it a little pull very so lightly. And as I pull that should push and pull to do it. That should do it. Will it? Yeah, that's doing it. Slow but surely. Just tweezers ain't grabbing for crap. Yeah, I think we're good there. Is that good on that side? Yeah, that's good on that side. So what I'll pull that way, because that also gives me a nice anchor point now to solder these last two pads, which obviously are going to be the same thing. So it don't even matter if these last two bridge with each other. It's not the end of the world. Don't go freaking out. You can actually leave it at that. But obviously you can't have any bridges, you know, between any of the other pads, if that makes sense. So it's a little bridge there, but no big deal, like I say. Beautiful. And that's done, I think. Look how much solder we've got left. Well, we've got a massive, well, not massive, but a coil of it there at least. And that's what the giants will look like once they're done. So now what we do is start reassembly. So we'll get to that now. I'm actually jumping the gun a little bit. We're not to the point where we're at reassembly just yet. We need to make the actual things, don't we? So what we'll do is put these in place here. And what we need to do is get one of the boards, move the other one, stick it in. We see rough, once we get it right in there so it's where it would be if it rests. We all good? I think we're all good there, yeah? All seems to be lining up, perfect, beautiful. So we see where that is in comparison, if you see what I mean. And we can see that, yeah, right, okay. So if we, I might be showing you that. So by comparing the two together, what we can do is get an idea that it's going to roughly be, get a cutting thing, where is it? There. So we can see, roughly, stick that in there, should still fit in there. Bit of a weird squeeze, but it should be all good. Go and get in there, you. There we go. So we'll get that in there, and then we line this, try and line it up kind of thing. We can see it's roughly about, so we see where that is. So we've got the hole, so we'll have to cut around the hole. So that says to me, if I cut, yeah, so just above the hole, innit? So I reckon we're cutting that about there. So obviously you need to cut it as symmetrical as you can. To be fair, if you did do it lopsided, you know, if it come up a bit lopsided from the glue, this would be a chance to kind of not make it feel so alien, if you get me. You could like use this to make it feel a little more straighter. We'll be removing a lot of the insides of this, so even for an edited video, this is going to be quite long, isn't it, I'm guessing. So there we go. It seems to be cutting straight. You want it to cut all the way through it. Careful, obviously, that you can cut yourself if you're handling sharp objects and you're underage of an adult, obviously, nearby. Take the necessary precautions if you use cutting gloves or something like that, because I very well might still cut my thumb off here. So, as I say, it's a high chance. I've hurt myself before doing macros and stuff. Some pretty deep stuff. There we go, I think that should do it. So we've got that chopped in half now. Should be able to get a better idea of how this is going to fit now. Right, so that goes in the you know, the bottom bit, the top bit. So if we stick that in there, that gives an idea of what we need to lose in regards to, you know, making it fit. So it's a pain in the butt as always, but it's the right findangling. It should be an appropriate word. I'm an idiot, I'm putting it in the wrong way around, that's why. There we go, so if we now put that in, yeah, see? So if I now use this bit to kind of guide my little things, I can do a little cut there, and we can see that or not. So like for the marker for the type C. So we've got two little cuts in that now. And what I'll do now is I'll bring my blade and I'll take it down as far as I can. Same with this. Then when you cut too far, you're gonna lose some rubber, but my plan is to use, you know, the double-sided tape. I'll show you in a second. That should do the trick. So if I just then cut across, cut through the hole, that might help. Cut. There we go. See, I'm going to be gushing blood in a second now. So I've pasted it through to the hole, and that should give me a little bit more space to work with. So again, I'll chop a bit more off here. I'm not going to bore you now, so what I'll do, I'll cut when I've, ironically enough, I'll cut when I've cut it properly, and you can see the, obviously, end result, what it'll look like. So, see you then. Well, that was a nightmare. It looks horrible. It looks terrible. So what I've decided to do is get some Sugru and just use that. So what we'll do, we'll assemble them, and we'll go from there, and I'll test them out, make sure they're working and everything, and then we'll get some Sugru to fit the things. So, speed past that, so warp speed back to 5, please, Scotty. And that's it, we're done. Well, we're not done. Technically, I didn't do the Sugru thing, but I'm pretty sure this video's gone on long enough, and another 15 minutes added to it ain't going to be doing anyone any favours. Right, so, what I've done, you know I said to you about being careful with the traces? I've actually ripped the trace on trace 3. You know, centre one of the 3, of the 5 even. I've ripped that, and it's all good now, so this is the cautionary tale. Don't go into this without a steady hand. Even with a steady hand, you should be careful. Make sure you clean up, you know, the holes through properly and everything. This one works perfect. We're all good. I just need to do the Sugru thing and take it apart, give it a clean to make sure it's all good to go. And that's it, done then. So what I'll do, I'll just call it a day now. I've got my computer. All I'd have to do after stop recording, point the camera at the screen, connect the phone, and all that other nonsense. But it works, trust me. It's all good. I'll just give you a quick close-up of the Type-C port. Looking good. It's a bit exposed right now, but nothing but a Sugru won't fix. I suppose you could use polymer or clay or something that might work as well. So anything that's essentially not gonna go and cut the insides of the Type-C port. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.